all, I just wanted to give thanks for the Coal Salish people for allowing me to be on your territory. And second of all, I wanted to give thanks to all of you. My name is Sage Birley. I'm a Peace River region farmer. There's a lot I want to say, but I'm going to try and keep it down to my story. But firstly, I wanted to say how much it means to me to see all of you gathered here. There's a huge divide between northern BC and the south. We don't feel the support of folks down south, and unfortunately it's resulted in the destruction of the northeast. We're the capital of LNG extraction. We have 2 existing hydroelectric dams on our river. They take every ounce they can from our territory in that region, and it's destroying our communities. I was speaking to some really incredible people who've been making a stand down at the Rocky Mountain Fort, and just in the courtroom, everywhere around the Site C Dam issue. And they told me that when they saw the hunger strike that started up here, it filled their spirits with so much hope. One woman said to me, "For so long I've been organizing everything I can around here. We've been the face of this fight. And to see someone who I've never met take a stand for something that I'm fighting for lit her fire. So thank you all so much. We need your support down here." What I'm really here to talk about, though, is how BC Hydro has been able to slide this project in under the radar. As someone who grew up in BC and was taught through our school system, my early experience of BC Hydro was them teaching me about saving power. So slowly but surely I had this image of BC Hydro being a really green, respectable company. And I began covering the Site C Dam project as a journalist a few years ago, covering the court cases down in Vancouver and speaking to the Boons back in Fort St. John. And the more I learned about this project, it rattled me to the very core, because it wasn't sustainable in the smallest amount. It was destroying huge chunks of land. It was a blatant disregard to Treaty 8 people, and there's no actual need for the energy. And so the more I uncovered, the more concerned I got, and especially as I began to see the issues around food security. So I am a farmer. I was an activist before that, and I was a little bit rattled by my inability to drive change in my own way. And so I went to farming as a way to try and really create that change and grow food as a means of creating change. And then the more I started to see how we are losing the ability to do that, to feed our communities. And that's why the Peace River Valley is so unique. It is an amazing microclimate. You can grow food there that you can't grow anywhere else. I'm up on the flats out of the river, and I try and grow watermelon or cantaloupe, and it wilts away in the frost in no time. But the market gardeners that are down in that valley can grow 9-pound cantaloupe and 9-pound watermelon. We do not have access to food like that in the Northeast, and if we don't do something now to protect it, our region has no chance at food security. I've also been watching Christy Clark's rhetoric, and also seeing Facebook pop up with concerning messages talking about the voices of no, and it infuriated me so much, because in the Northeast we don't say no to industrial projects. It's an unfortunate situation, but industry runs our communities up there. Natural gas has huge net impacts on the people. It has huge impacts, obviously, on the environment. But we allow projects to continue. Site C is the first project I've seen any kind of opposition from the general public in Fort St. John. But the difficult thing is we are in the palm of industry. Industry's interest rules in the Northeast. And they continue to take all they can from us. But what I see is encouraging is there are people who are making a stand down in the valley in a very interesting way. They're down there growing food. And I look at what BC Hydro is trying to do, and they're trying to ram this project through. They're there now. I fall asleep every night in my cabin hearing post pounds in the river. I hear blasts. I hear helicopters flying over every day. And I watch the government and our courts turn against the people who are trying to make a stand to protect our last chance at food security. But the encouraging thing is, just before I came here, I met with a bunch of young market gardeners down in that valley. And just like BC Hydro is charging ahead with this project, despite the fact that it's still tied up in the courts, we're charging ahead trying to produce food for our communities and try and create that alternate future.
Yes!
So BC Hydro can do all it wants to try and destroy this valley, but meanwhile we're going to be there and we're going to be growing food and we're going to be saying yes to a different kind of future in the Northeast. We're going to say yes to a future that will last more than a boom and bust cycle that we've been trapped in for so long. I've seen the impacts of the collapse of LNG on people I grew up with. They're out of work, they have no options, and they're desperate. And that's why this project is coming through, but no one seems to be talking about the fact that once this dam project is done, they're out of work again. What that valley could do is it could employ people in a long-term sense, and in the meantime they could be producing food for a community. They could be producing the only commodity that I've really seen increase in value over year after year after year. I saw a comic not too long ago talking about striking cauliflower instead of striking oil and the value that is in that commodity. But for some reason, Christy Clark and the BC government isn't taking food as a sustainable economic driver. I look at young people whose only transferable skills revolve around the oil and gas industry. And then I look at farmers, and I look at how long farms have been, or how long farms employ people in juxtaposition to the oil and gas industry. My family's been farming in the Peace River region for 100 years this year. And I was lucky enough to avoid the oil and gas industry because my dad warned me of the boom and bust cycle in the Northeast. He'd seen Fort St. John turn into a ghost town several times. But meanwhile, farmers have continued to stay in those communities, providing long-term jobs and a sense of security for the people in that region. And so I look at what's going to happen with this dam, and it is taking away that long-term security. We're not saying no. We're saying yes to 100+ years of a sustainable future in that Peace region. And we need you folks down here to stand with us, because alone we can't make that change. So thank you all so much. There's so much more left to come. And if I can say one last thing, it's the urgency of this project, because land is being cleared. The Site C Dam is under construction, and unless people care down here, they're going to push the interests of the Northeast aside. So thank you all so much. Continue to raise your voices. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.